Hey everyone, how's it going? Azren the language nerd here. I hope you're doing very well. As you can see, I'm not currently in my usual environment. I'm in the middle of nature. There's like a little stream here, lots of trees and plants and nature, and overall it's just very gorgeous. I am in a small village that is called Landes-le-Gaulois. It is in France. This is the village where I originally stayed and lived for a few months when I came to France. It would have been 11 or 12 years ago. I came here on a French exchange trip, so I lived with a French family for 3 months. Then the student who was studying in the house also came to Canada for 3 months, stayed with me and stayed with my family, and it was a very positive experience. I'm still in touch with that student, and we're still friends. I'm still in touch with the family. So I'm here in France for the next few days visiting the family. And I thought, this with such a gorgeous background and everything, why not make a video from here and share some different language learning pieces of advice. First of all, the value of context is everything. It's literally everything when you're learning another language. You see, I was watching these comedy skits on TV with my French friend, and Yoann, that's his name, with Yoann. And we're watching these comedy skits on TV, and I found myself understanding well enough, but there are a lot of nuances and a lot of things that I just wasn't fully getting, and my brain wasn't able to fully capture what was being said, and sometimes I was missing out on the meaning altogether. And it was quite discouraging a little bit. I thought to myself, man, here I am, 21 years of doing French. I feel so comfortable in the language. I'm fluent, I'm this and that. And yet, I'm watching this comedy series, these clips and these sketches essentially. And there's a lot of stuff that there's certain chunks I'm missing. What the heck is going on? And I was feeling a little bit like bamboozled, for lack of a better term. And I was thinking about it, and then I realized, it's because I'm just not used to that show. I'm not used to their cadences. I'm not used to the humor, the comedy. I've never even seen the show, so this is a random episode of the show, X number of episodes in. And I was like, I bet you that's what's going on. I had no previous context. None at all that would help me to identify what the people were saying. It's kind of like, I'll give you a similar example. I went and watched a movie in theaters in French the other day. I watched Avengers Endgame, which is a Marvel superhero movie. And I was worried going in, because I thought, man, this is like a sci-fi movie, lots of like superpowers and magic and time travel and all sorts of different vocabulary like that. I have no idea if I know these words in French. Like, I have never had that kind of experience in French ever in my life, and I was like, man, this is going to be really tough. Ironically, it was crazy how easy it was. I literally, no exaggeration, understood about 97% of the whole movie because I am super well versed with Marvel and superhero vocabulary in English. I know the Marvel universe. I've seen a lot of the movies. As a kid, I used to watch all the movies. Sometimes I used to read the comics if we could find some comic books. It's been a part of my life for my whole life. So, when I see in the French version of the movie, when I see people talking about time travel or the quantum mechanics of how superpowers work or things like that, even when there are unfamiliar words that they use, my brain can, with context, figure out what they're saying, because I'm like, I know they're talking about the Hulk's superpowers. I know the field. I know the general concept of some of the words they're probably stumbling into in English, and with context, my brain can figure out very quickly, the word they just used in French is this word in English. I get what they're talking about because I have previous context and I have previous background information, I suppose you can say. Another thing I've realized while I've been here in France is just how deep fluency really goes in a language. You see, unless you are actually living in a country that speaks the language that you are trying to learn, unless you're living there forever and you've moved there and boom, that's just what you do now, you have to understand that there are always, for the rest of your life, going to be things that you just don't know how to say. And by the way, this is also in your own mother tongue. This happens in your mother tongue too. Like there's a lot of stuff you don't know how to say in your own first language. A great example of it is like right now, I'm currently in Langue Gaulois. Let me show you something while we're here. So I learned a word when I came, I learned a lot of words when I came to this village that I had no idea how to say. Most notably, one of the first plants I learned how to say is this one here. Let me show you. Is it this one? I'm like 99%, oh no, wait. It may not be this one, but I'm pretty sure it's this one. This one here. If I'm not mistaken, this is nettle, or it looks very similar to it. One of the two, I don't remember. This plant, if you touch it, it stings you, and it hurts a lot. So when I came, I learned the word for this plant. I learned it in French, okay? I had no idea what the plant was in English. I'd never seen it before, it was brand new to me. But I learned the French word. There's other plants as well. Like there's like this plant that you can eat. It tastes like a spicy spinach. I don't know what it's called in English, but I know it in French. In French we say le cresson, but in English I have no idea. Even things like, I can go on and on. Like there's so many things I've learned in this village here in French that I have no idea how to say in English because I grew up in the city. I didn't grow up in the countryside, and let alone a French countryside. So on and on, I'm going on a tangent, but what I'm saying is that fluency it's a living and breathing organism where you have to, you're always learning new things. I've been in France for a week, and I have a little note thing on my phone, little like note file, excuse me, a bit of a cold. I have a note file on my phone with give or take 50 new words I've already learned while I have been in France. After 21 years of speaking the language, studying it, blah, 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 and 1 week of being in France, just hanging out with my friend and just doing things, I've learned 50 new words? Like, what? That seems so crazy. But it's real. That's just how it is, especially because language evolves. Language is something that evolves over time, and let me tell you, like, there are things that I hear French people use nowadays that I think back and I go, man, I hear it all the time now? I don't think I heard it once when I first came to France back in 2007, 2008. I don't think I heard much of it when I was here in 2012. Then again, 2012, I wasn't around a lot of French speakers, like native French speakers, not a ton. This time's a little different. It's like mostly French speakers I'm around, like native French speakers. So maybe 2012 was around, but definitely 2007, 8. Like there's a lot of stuff that they used to say then that they just don't say now. I just don't hear it. No, I don't hear it, right? Oh, that's a bee. I don't like bumblebees. Okay, anyway. So just interesting. Language is always evolving, and so for people that are trying to get to a very fluent kind of level, you have to evolve with it. You have to keep going. You have to keep practicing and studying. It's like it's not something where you're good and ta-da! Again, if you want a near native kind of fluency. Maybe the last thing I'll say here, and we can finish the video off with this note, as I'm going for 10 minutes already, so I'll finish off with this. When it comes to learning another language, while it is a forever process, quote unquote, it's a forever process, and yet it actually takes surprisingly little to be able to get by in the language and just communicate. You don't need to study it forever if you're just wanting to have a communicative kind of fluency or a basic conversational kind of fluency. I don't think you necessarily need to have a super duper fluent kind of level, or like you don't need to study it forever in order to have a conversational basic level of fluency. I really don't think you do. It reminds me a lot right now. Although I'm in France, I've been doing some final preparations for my Taiwan trip. I leave for Taiwan in a week of me shooting this video here. And so like, even this morning I was talking to the host family that I'm going to be living with, And there's a lot of stuff that I'm saying, I'm like typing to her, that I know as I'm typing it, it's not really correct Mandarin. It's not the best way to say it. I know there's mistakes, but I'm getting my point across, and we're communicating without any major hitches, right? No major issues. So you can do that, right? Like that's like you can get to a very quote unquote strong kind of level without studying it forever, right? But for the people that really want that near native kind of fluency, it is something to take. It's like a forever process of continuously learning, maintaining your level, increasing your level, right? Things like that. So anyway, it's getting a little bit cold. The wind's blowing, getting a little chilly here. So I'm gonna wrap this video up. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. We will talk very, very soon. Bye.